And now with this historic nomination is expected to go through despite some harsh opposition from Republicans this week. Joining us now to talk about that and the week's proceedings and how it could impact future court rulings is Suzanne Chad, a political science professor at North Central College. Thank you for joining us, Professor. How are you this Friday?
I'm great, Micah. How are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm good. Thank you. And I'm sure that Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson is feeling better this Friday after 19 hours of testimony. You and I talked about this earlier. It was grace under pressure, wasn't it?
It absolutely was. And in fact, last time we spoke on Tuesday, this was before Wednesday's questioning that got even more intense. And I think it's particularly in those tense exchanges where senators tried to ensnare her in political issues such as critical race theory and stacking the court and things like that. You know, she very steadfastly stuck to this is my judicial philosophy. This is what I believe in. And at some point pushed back against senators to say, I've repeatedly answered this question and I don't really think there's anything else to say. And again, I think that really shows that in the face of adversity, as most women who inhabit these spaces that are typically inhabited by men and particularly white men, she is able to stand her own, and that is not easy.
Senator Lindsey Graham saying he will not support her nomination, and other GOP senators saying the same. But that really doesn't matter because, as we said before, it's split right now. And if there is a tie, and we talked about Democrat Joe Manchin voting in her favor, then Vice President Kamala Harris. So it's likely she will be nominated, correct?
Yes, right now, knowing that Senator Manchin is going to vote for her confirmation when it hits the Senate floor, even if we had that 50-50 split, as you said, then we would have the first Black female vice president cast a tie-breaking vote to put the first Black woman on the Supreme Court. There's something sort of poetic about that. What's not poetic is the fact that it would be that close. And in fact, because the Senate Judiciary Committee is split 50-50 between Democrats and Republicans, there could potentially be a tie to not vote to get her out of that committee to even send her to the floor, which would require a Senate maneuver, still would get her to that final confirmation vote and get her confirmed. But there might be a little procedural gymnastics in the Senate over the next few weeks.
Why such opposition? Senator Lindsey Graham, for instance, voted her to be in the lower courts. Why change his mind now?
Yes, this is a great question. The three Republican senators, Lindsey Graham was one of them, voted to elevate her to the appellate court just 10 months ago. And when asked about it, Lisa Murkowski, for example, the Republican senator from Alaska, said, you know, we think about when we elevate someone to the appellate court, they're not setting new precedent. They're just reflecting on existing precedent. And then the Supreme Court could then overturn that. So they say that for a Supreme Court justice, because that is the end all be all, it doesn't go anywhere else from that, there's a different standard, a different level of qualification and of consideration. I don't know whether or not, I don't want to say anything about whether that's truly what they believe or whether it's more about trying to say whether they have to vote with the party on this case because it's so public, but that's the reasoning that's being given.
Since we are talking about the Supreme Court, let's touch upon something that has come to light the past couple of days. Justice Clarence Thomas's wife, Virginia Thomas, has been found that she has given a series of texts to Mark Meadows, former chief of staff for Donald Trump, talking about overturning the election back in 2021. What are your thoughts on that, and what could become of this?
Yes, this is very much breaking in the past few minutes, few hours. And so Ginny Thomas, Clarence Thomas's wife, she is a conservative activist. We've seen that she's been active in those circles for a while. And there've been some questions whether that was a conflict of interest previously. But now that these text messages have come to light, and it's very clear that Ginny Thomas was pushing Mark Meadows to really follow along the lines of Sidney Powell's reasoning for trying to overturn the election, to push as hard as possible. Clarence Thomas has ruled on January 6 cases previously, and then one of the last ones was the lone dissenter. More cases are expected to come to the court. So now there's a question of, should Clarence Thomas recuse himself from cases that have to do with January 6 based on Ginny Thomas's involvement or potential involvement? And as you might imagine, there's a partisan split. Some Democrats are saying absolutely he should. Some Republicans are saying, no, it's not a conflict of interest. I expect that this is going to get more contentious, and we're going to have much more discussion about this in the coming days.
The fact that he was a lone dissenter in that case, that's very telling, isn't it?
I think it could be. It was pointed out that that he often dissents. I guess I will say that, but being the lone dissenter is a little unique, and so we don't want to, say that it was because of that. Ginny Thomas says that they never talk about work together, and so.
But she did allude to someone called her best friend, which some think that could mean her husband, but we don't know that, of course.
That's exactly right. And so digging a little deeper into this is definitely going to tell us more.
Yeah. All right. Political science professor Suzanne Schott, always nice to speak with you from North Central College. Take care.
Thanks so much. You too, Micah.